Richard Long. B. Bristol, 1945. Richard Long has based his art around a single activity: walking. He undertakes solitary journeys on foot, often across hundreds of miles of landscape. The walks themselves are structured around certain limits, usually communicated in the title of the work. These include a starting point and destination, of course, but also boundaries of time, as in 8,000 miles in 1,000 hours, 1974, or poetically suggestive actions, such as collecting water from each river crossed to be poured into the next one, as in Water Walk, 1999. On the way, Long sometimes creates ephemeral, geometric forms from sticks, stones, and other objects. His walks are represented in photographs and maps, often accompanied by evocative texts. Long is keen to differentiate his own practice from American land art, which for him is obsessed with imposing gestures demanding money and industrial machinery. By contrast, Long's own encounter with the landscape is marked by subtlety, simplicity, and a perceptive readiness for what it offers up. Lifeline. 1945. Born in Bristol, UK, 1962. Attends the West of England College of Art, creating work which engaged directly with the surrounding landscape. 1967. While a student at St. Martin's College, undertakes his first walking work, A Line Made by Walking. 1968. Solo exhibition of his work at the Conrad Fischer Gallery, in Dusseldorf. 1976. Represents Britain at the Venice Biennale exhibition. 1989. Wins the Turner Prize on his fourth nomination. Geneva Circle 2. As well as temporary works created on location, Long also makes sculptural works and wall paintings for galleries. Universal shapes such as circles and lines are used, suggesting a link between the ancient and the contemporary. Site specificity is important, and these stone slabs would have come from a local Swiss quarry. 1987. Stone, diameter 500 centimeters, private collection. Sahara Line. Although he is a quintessentially English artist in many ways, Long has walked all over the world, from Lapland to the Andes. Here, scattered rocks are arranged to constitute an obviously human intervention, creating a juxtaposition with the monolithic desert backdrop. 1988. Rocks, 114 by 83.5 centimeters, Sahara Desert, Africa. Robert Smithson. B. Passaic, 1938. D. Amarillo, 1973. Of all the American artists of the 1960s, Robert Smithson perhaps best embodied the trajectory away from traditional disciplines and formalist notions of what art should be. Best known for monumental land pieces, such as the iconic Spiral Jetty, 1970, Smithson's thinking went beyond the visual aspect of his work to also offer a philosophical reflection on man's place in nature. He challenged human-centered ideas represented in the picturesqueness of landscape painting, a tradition he saw persisting in abstract art with an appeal to inhuman concepts that diminished mankind's self-importance, geological time, the crystalline structure of minerals, and entropy, the physical law of increasing disorder. Smithson saw art less as a unique, finished object and more as a dynamic, social, physical, and mental process that could take multiple, interacting forms. Lifeline. 1938. Born in Passaic, New Jersey. 1957. Moves to New York. 1966. Shows his work at the legendary Minimal Art Exhibition Primary Structures, held at the Jewish Museum. 1967. Solo show at Dawn Gallery, New York. 1970. Obtains lease for an area of land on the Great Salt Lake, in Utah. Constructs Spiral Jetty in 6 days. 1973. Is killed in a plane crash, age just 35, while surveying land for an earthwork in Texas. Mirror stratum. In the mid-1960s, Smithson's sculptural works adopted the pared-down geometries of minimalism, but displayed a deliberate connection to physical processes, such as the stratification of rocks. 1966. Mirrors, 36 by 36 by 15 centimeters, James Cohan Gallery, New York, U.S. Spiral Jetty. Located in a remote region of Utah's Great Salt Lake, this work was built from 6.5 tons of rock and earth. The spiral shape is a reference to a mythical whirlpool at the bottom of the lake, and to the circulation of blood in the body. The water has a reddish tint. 1970. Black rock, salt crystals, earth, red water, algae. 4.6 mx 450 m, Great Salt Lake, Utah, US. Closer look. Crystal structure. Smithson intended saline crystals from the water to form on top of the rock surface, and this has indeed happened, creating a white halo that contrasts with the pinkish water. Dennis Oppenheim. The Electric City, Washington, 1938. Oppenheim's work has spanned land art, performance, video art, and sculpture, and is based on a questioning of the traditional art object. For him,
art is an action in real time, not a timeless precious object, and the photographic record he makes merely documents a moment in the process. The plowing of a field, the suntanning of a body, and even the consumption and digestion of a gingerbread man are all material. His objects are unconventional and often disturbing, even when he makes them for museum display. In Attempt to Raise Hell, 1974, a metal head is struck by a bell every 60 seconds. Cancelled crop, this picture represents just one stage in the artistic process, as Oppenheim himself explains. The route from Finsterwald, location of wheat field, to Neuverschans, location of storage silo, was reduced by a factor of 6x and plotted on a 154x267m field. The field was then seeded following this line. In September, the field was harvested in the form of an X. The grain was isolated in its raw state. Further processing was withheld. 1969, Netherlands. An artist works to expose wounds. Dennis Oppenheim. Walter de Maria. B. Albany, 1935. Best known for his celebrated Lightning Field, 1977. Walter de Maria began his artistic career making witty sculptures, creating musical pieces, and taking part in happenings under the influence of the avant-garde composer John Cage. In 1968, he produced two significant land art works, mile-long drawing consisting of two parallel chalk lines in the Mojave Desert in California, and Earth Room at the Heine Friedrich Gallery in Munich, where he filled the pristine space with soil, which could be viewed from behind a glass barrier. A lightning field. This field contains 400 steel rods, spaced at 67 m intervals and set in the ground so that the tops of them are at an even height to create an enormous grid in the desolate landscape. The work's title suggests the awesome and potentially threatening encounter with nature to be had when experiencing it firsthand. 1977, Steel Rods, New Mexico, U.S. Andy Goldsworthy, B. Cheshire, 1956. Andy Goldsworthy is part of the lineage of land artists who move beyond the gallery and the saleable object to make transient interventions in non-urban environments. These interventions take the form of delicate and beautiful structures made from material found close to hand. Goldsworthy's work follows the minimalist ethic of presenting the material as it is, using it neither for representational nor abstract purposes, and of revealing the means of its construction. However, unlike minimalism, with its industrial, factory-made aesthetic, Goldsworthy's objects are a result of hands-on communication with nature. Leaves, stones, flowers, snow, and twigs are some of the typical materials he uses, arranging and attaching them in patterns that mimic natural forms, spheres, spirals, and lattice shapes. The ephemerality of these sculptures reminds us that death and decay are an integral part of nature. Lifeline, 1956, born in Cheshire, son of a professor of mathematics. 1969, from the age of 13, he often works as a farm laborer in the Yorkshire countryside. 1975 to 78, studies fine art at Preston Polytechnic. 1996, begins work on sheepfolds in Cumbria. 2000, awarded the OBE. 2003, frozen sculptures, including Icicle Star. I used to illustrate Royal Mail Christmas stamps. 2007, a retrospective of his work is held at Yorkshire Sculpture Park. Spherical leafwork. Goldsworthy adopts natural materials, not only as formal elements, but also tools that hold new shapes together, for example using thorns as a pinning device in this structure. Leaves are a familiar sign of passing time, turning brown and disintegrating with the changing seasons, a process the artist embraces through the sculptures themselves. 1988, Leaves, City Art Gallery, Leeds, UK. Icicle star Goldsworthy sculptures often appear so exquisite because they utilize the very forms produced by natural processes to create new and suggestive objects. Part of the charm of this piece lies in the contrast between the modesty of the material, mere water, and the exuberance it seems to express, and between its actual coldness and the burning heat of the star it resembles. Ice, Dumfriesshire, Scotland,